Welcome to the Underground.
Turn me up, bitch!
My Little Underground with Peter A.
Billy Corgan and Kim Gordon and Thurston Moore doing a voice on The Simpsons. I was like, I want to know the context. So I watched that episode. And I like everything that I've watched. But I just don't...
Billy Corgan, Smashing Pumpkins, Homer Simpson, Smiling Politely.
Yeah. You know the one.
Of course.
Oh, you really are a fan of The Simpsons?
I'm a huge fan.
Can I have another
Of course.
bite of the cake? Thank you.
Are you kidding?
Are you kidding me right now? Okay, sorry. Got a little emotional there. This is really good cake.
Mm-hmm.
It's well picked. Excellent choice.
I gotta tell you, at my job, the riff and the melody for Heavy Heavy is like embedded in my skull.
Really?
Yeah, it's in my head right now.
There's a lot of people that have told me. I think one of my favorite messages that I got about, and I've gotten a lot of really nice feedback on Heavy Heavy, but there was one person that was basically like, and there was no preface to this message. It wasn't like a, hey, like, just heard your stuff, blah, blah, blah. It literally was like, I fucking hate my job, and Heavy Heavy is the only thing that like helps me get through the day. And I was like, I get that. Like, as it, like, totally removed from being the person who wrote the song, I was like, I fucking get that, bro. Like, yes, thank you for saying that.
Mike, are we rolling?
Are we rolling?
Perfect.
Oh, we are?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we have begun.
I think that's great that you think of your music like that, because there's a relatability there. Your music can connect to people like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think my kind of thing on it is always like, once I release it and once it's not mine anymore, it's not mine anymore. And I kind of used to, it's not that it bothered me, but like I get very emotionally connected to songs, as people do. And like when artists would kind of be like, no, that's not what that means, or no, that's not, or oh, I didn't really care about this song, or blah, blah, blah. Like, sometimes the artist's opinion, not always, but sometimes I feel like the artist's opinion on it kind of ruins the song, because you want to hear it the way that you want to hear it. Like, it doesn't belong to me anymore. Like, it's always going to mean what it means to me, you know, and I'm going to always have wrote it for the reason that I wrote it. But it's really cool to hear, like, other people's interpretation, and, like, when they listen to it, like, what it means to them, and that's, like, my, like, not my, but that person's, like, fuck work song. Yep. Like, I have a job I like now, but I used to have a job I fucking hated. And it was just that grind and that, like, day, like, every day, just, like, staring into the void, you know, working my retail job, you know, acting like I don't have a brain in my head. It fucking sucks. And, like, if I can put a riff to that feeling, like, sure, like, that's all you. And that's, you know, yours.
Let's set stage here. It's level 35 of My Little Underground. I'm Peter A., and you can subscribe on all podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, radio.com, and of course, peteraradio.com. And on YouTube, just search My Little Underground, and it's all there. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's Peter_A. And on, I said Twitter and Instagram, yes, it's Peter_A. I'm scatterbrained this morning. Follow my show, My Little Underground, Twitter, Instagram, at MLU Pod, and on Facebook as well. Search My Little Underground. We're having cake for breakfast with Mia of Pom Pom Squad.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi.
Pass the cake first.
Okay, sorry.
The reason why we're having...
Hogging the cake.
Yeah.
I just don't want to, like... I don't know. I always, like... Do you experience ASMR? Is that a thing? Like, when you hear, like, those videos, it, like, makes you feel tingly? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but you don't, like,
I've
you don't
never
experience it.
experienced
See,
that.
I, like... For some reason, I don't experience ASMR, and it's not even that I like or dislike it in any way. It just makes me so viscerally uncomfortable that I don't want to provide that experience for somebody by, like, eating cake in there. Well, no, I remember I was helping my friend with a radio show, and I was, like, eating, like, cookies in their ear, and I just saw him cringe so, like, violently, and he was like, "You have to listen to what you're doing right now." And so I put the headphones on, like, as I was eating, and it was, like, the most appalling. Most appalling noise.
Yep.
Yeah, no, never again.
I had a similar experience.
Okay.
When I was in college, I was a guest on a friend's radio show, and I was chewing gum, and it was a very unpleasant sound.
Oh, God.
And the host told me, "Yo, Peter, you better stop chewing gum." He said it more friendlier than that. He's like, "Yo, you gotta stop." And it sounded terrible. I was listening. I'm like,
He's
wait
like,
a minute.
"Peter, you must stop."
Almost like
Stop
that.
it. Yeah.
And we're literally having cake for breakfast. We're
are
eating
having
cake
for
right
breakfast.
now because it was your birthday.
It was.
So how old are you turning? Or did you turn?
I turned 22.
Yeah.
Yeah. How old are you?
Nothing happens. I'm
yeah.
25.
You're 25. Okay.
I'll be 26 in a month's time.
In a month. Okay, cool. So really soon.
Yeah. I have to fish for insurance now.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yeah. My girlfriend just turned 25 and has to do that, and I'm so excited to not have to do that. So I'm sorry.
It's coming.
I'm so excited to not do something.
It's coming
yeah.
fast.
I mean, yeah. I feel like I don't know. I kind of just didn't have any concept of what it would be like to be 22. I don't feel any different. I feel like 21 was kind of like, yeah, and then 22. I actually had a really amazing birthday. I had a great birthday. We played a show at Our Wicked Lady, and a lot of people came, and it was just like, it was on a rooftop. It's a summer night. It was hot and fucking disgusting, but it was just like such good energy, really great people. I never had like birthday parties growing up really, and like, I had a couple, but it was like, you know, as like an adult, I've like never had a birthday party, and everyone in my band and my friends like made an effort to make it like really, really special. It was great, and I bought a guitar, and I named it 22. So
That's a great birthday.
yeah, it was a really good one. I mean, it's like I love playing shows, and so I was kind of like, all right, if I could spend, you know, like like holidays or anything like that, like doing something I love, why shouldn't I? Let's play a fucking show. Play a show.
I was gonna go to that show.
Oh.
But I went to another show.
Oh, you did, and you didn't say hi.
I went to see Sir Baby Girl that night. I think that was that night. Yeah,
Was it
I
on the
think
16th?
16th?
July 16th.
No.
Where was Sir
there was
Baby
something
Girl?
else. No, Sir Baby Girl was on a different date.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
so you
was-
just didn't come. No.
I really wanted to go. But the thing is, I work in Manhattan.
Okay.
So getting to Brooklyn is not difficult.
Oh, but it's not easy.
difficult. No, it's not. It's
I
not that it's
also
not
work in
easy. It's just like
Manhattan.
I'm exhausted
Yeah.
after work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I have to come to a Pom Pom show.
Oh yeah,
I
you
must.
should. We
I
have
must
a
go.
fun show. I do the same thing as I had actually went from my office job to my show that night.
Yeah.
So I have to do that a lot, and it's like an hour commute from Manhattan, like from where I am in Manhattan to Brooklyn, and it's not fun. So you pass this time. I'll give you that excuse. Just this time.
Yeah.
Just the one time.
No, because I was going to. I was doing something in Brooklyn. I was having dinner with a friend coming from Manhattan and riding the L train.
Likely story.
It was. I wanted to die. It was terrible. Terrible experience because it was so unbelievably crowded, and I just couldn't breathe. You know what I mean? It was so bad.
Yeah, I was on a train in Herald Square, and it was like, I think this was one of my worst train experiences. Is I literally was like sandwiched between two bodies, and then like my one shoulder was like on the door, and then my other shoulder was like on a person, and I just was like deep breathe. I was just like, okay. I was like, we're just gonna be on the train. Like I was like talking to myself. I had to like recite my mantras and stay calm. I mean, just like I have a ton of anxiety, and living in Manhattan or not living in Manhattan, but living in Brooklyn and commuting from Manhattan is like a test of I'm just getting stronger every day. Right? It's a test of my strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I don't understand is you have a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
You live in the boroughs.
Yeah.
And you come from Florida.
Kind of. Yeah. Well, I grew up in a bunch of places. I was born on Long Island, and then lived
Represent.
in Detroit. Long Island, yeah. And then Detroit, Michigan, and then I was in Florida from the time I was in like maybe 8th grade to 12th grade. So most of my like formative teenage years I was in Florida. But yeah, now I'm in BK, bitch.
But there's something really stressful about Florida too. Their gun laws are pretty
Oy,
loosey
I don't even
goosey.
wanna talk about that.
You know, so it's scary. And I'm going to Florida soon too.
Oh yeah, I mean,
And I'm just scared of the South because
it's
you know what I
scary
mean?
place. I mean, any conversation about gun laws today is like so heartbreaking. It's just like
you just want to vomit in your mouth a little bit. Right?
This morning I kind of finally gave myself permission to like read about what happened in El Paso, and it was like horrifying. And then there was another shooting last night. I mean, when I was in Orlando, Florida's a funny place because it's the South, but I was in Central Florida, so I was in Orlando, like 15 minutes from Disney, and it's very different.
I got family out there. So.
Do you really? Yeah, it's very different than like deep Florida, but it's still like a really fucking weird place. Yeah. And it was, it was a really sleepy town. Like when I was a teenager,
Exactly.
I don't think I like kind of taught myself to appreciate it, but I think as an adult, actually, I miss the suburbs a little bit. There's a part of me that's kind of like, I want that quiet, and I want that, takes 30 minutes to get everywhere, so you do 2 things in a day max, And when I'm in Brooklyn, it's like, I have to go here, I have to do this, I'm gonna meet this person. Like I like block up 30-minute time slots of like, oh, I'm gonna see this friend for 30 minutes, and then I go somewhere else for like, it's like ridiculous. Like you're maximizing your time to such an intense degree. So Florida major pros and cons. Major pros and cons. Lots of baby gators everywhere. So many people's pools.
Lizards.
Oh my God, so many lizards. And they always are like doing little tiny push-ups. Have you ever noticed this about the lizards in Florida? Is the little push-ups they do?
They just kind of hang out on the side of the wall for like hours. You don't even notice them.
Chilling. Like,
yeah, I love them.
They're cuties. They're little sweet guys. A lot of armadillos actually. I used to walk my dog and I remember my dog got really close to this armadillo, and first I was like, "Oh my God, an armadillo!" And then I was like, "Oh my God, yeah, my dog!" Like, they're so docile, but if you get near their belly, they just like, they
I'm gonna have some more cake.
Yeah, do it, and they like curl up into a little ball and get all spooky, and they're like, I knew a guy who had like a scar on his finger from an armadillo like closing its shell on him. So I worried about my pup. There's lots of weird animals in Florida. Yeah.
You came to New York for schooling?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I came here to go to New York University. New York University.
What's that like?
What
was that like? Yeah.
It was interesting. I mean, I like you just passed me this cake on instinct. You're like, yep, this is yours now. I actually came here to act, which is a hilarious past life of mine.
I did some acting too, but go ahead.
Did you?
Yeah.
What did you do?
No, you go first.
No, me?
Yeah, you go first, and I'll tell you.
But I'm eating cake right now.
Oh, right. Okay, so now I'll tell the story. So 2 years ago, there's a filmmaker who lives in Valley Stream, and he's the man. His name is Anthony. He's very, very smart, very intelligent. He does films on his iPhone, and they come out really well. So he's currently working on a movie about drag racing, right? And he asked me, because of my broadcasting experience, to be a play-by-play announcer for it. And that's what I did. That was my role.
Voice for that.
Yeah, thank you. So it wasn't necessarily acting because I was kind of in my element, but not really because it's about drag racing. And I know dog shit about drag racing. So I was, but I wasn't in my element.
I feel like acting, like if you watched Euphoria yet, everyone's talking about it.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
I watched 2 episodes of it when one of my roommates, John, who's a photographer, and he's like just always around Brooklyn, has his friend, and they always come over and watch Euphoria together on Sunday nights, which is very cute. And I just one day was just kind of sitting and watching an episode, and like all of the actors on it are like a lot of them are actors, but a lot of them are like models, and it's like their first time acting, and it's so natural, it's so naturalistic, and they become these kind of like breakout, stars. Some of them haven't acted before, and I think it's kind of just secretly like I've been watching interviews because I find that stuff so fascinating, and they're talking about how kind of like the script was like molded to their stories, and like one of the girls on it was talking about how this really intense scene she had to do, like she was just so exhausted that she just kind of like did it. And I feel like that's kind of secretly what acting is. Like, I feel like that's what I didn't really understand when I was acting, especially when you're young, and especially because of the types of, like, TV shows that are on now. Like, a lot of it is, like, being, like, slightly in your element and then, like, convincing yourself, like, oh, yes, I do know about drag racing, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, being a broadcaster. I had this friend who said something to me that I was so fucking offended by when I was an actor because of the, like, fucking gross self-righteousness of, like, acting and, like, the work and, like, all of that, dumb shit. She was like... And she was a bitch. No, I'm kidding. But I just remember one of my old acting friends who were interesting people was like, I feel like you're not gonna really be like you'll be an actor, but you'll be more of like a personality. So you'll do movies about like punk rock and like blah 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 blah. And at the time, I was just like fuck you. Like I was like, I'm training to do this thing. Like why should I just be in movies about like being a fucking punk or whatever? And then now, like, that I'm, like, music is my main focus, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Fucking throw me in a movie about being a punk. It'll be the easiest job of all time. You know what I mean? And, like, what's wrong with that? Like, what's wrong with, like, using part of your personality to do the fucking thing? I have such feelings about acting. Yeah, it was a rough time for me. I mean, it was just, I came to New York, and, when I came to New York to act, I was still a little bit in this place of just like, is this really what I want? And, why am I doing this? And I think I went in really not knowing why I was doing it. And I loved the plays. Like, I actually loved the material that I was doing.
You did plays?
I did, yeah. I was doing, like, mostly, like, modern realism, like Chekhov. And then we also did, like, Shakespeare. And I love doing Shakespeare. I had an amazing Shakespeare teacher. And then, and we were, I was doing, like, Three Sisters and, like, All My Sons, like, all of those kind of classic, plays, like, capital P, classic plays. And there were things that I really liked about it, and I learned a lot, but I think mostly, like, I mean, one of my favorite comments that I love to tell people is that somebody was like, my professor was like, yeah, you'll probably be relatively successful for an actress of color. And I was like, okay. You know, like I was just like, one, you're here to teach me. Like, I don't really need your opinion about how relatively successful I'll be based on what I look like. I was like, can you teach me something? You know what I mean? Like, teach me something. Like, if I'm doing something, if I'm missing something, just teach me. So there were a lot of interesting, like, there were a lot of things I liked about it. There were a lot of things I didn't like about it. And then I just remember, like, one of the saddest moments of my acting career is, like, when I decided, you know, I transferred halfway through college to the music school at MLU. And I, you know, missed all the deadlines to apply and was freaking out and was just like, please get me the fuck out of here. And I just was like, I need to go. And luckily, I went to Clive Davis. They were kind of like, listen, you know, we can take your application, but if there's no room, like, no matter if we like you or not, like, if there's no room, you can't get in. Like, you missed all the deadlines. And then somebody dropped, and they were like, we like you, like, we want you to come to the school. And so I did.
You auditioned?
And I had to like apply, and, you know, it wasn't like a proper audition the same way that like you do for acting school. It was like you do like a video submission, you submit like a couple songs, they ask you some questions about the songs. It's like not quite like I know like with the music tech program or whatever, you have to do like an audition tape and all this crazy stuff. It wasn't like that at all. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, I remember like the last day that we did this like final play, and it was like one of my favorite plays actually, and it was like somehow symbolically the first play I ever did and also the last play that I might ever do, I don't know. And I like was so obsessed with being like the best when I was there. Like I was totally that kid who was just like, I needed everyone's approval, I needed everyone to think that I was, you know, so talented and that I needed validation that I like deserved to be there basically. And I finally like was like, fuck it, like I don't care. And I did this play, and it was like a grueling process, and my director like every day was like it was like somebody took a shovel and was just like shoveling my chest, and I would literally like get on the floor and start crying, and my director would like get on the floor with me and be like, okay, you have to get up and do the scene again, like you have to do, like it was very like like whiplash, like not on my tempo, you know what I mean, next, like do it again, like a softer version of that, but that's what it felt like for me at the time. And I went into like my final panel with all of my professors, and they were like, you know, you had one of the best performances of like anyone in your class. You know, they finally said the thing that I wanted to hear, which was like, you were the best. And then they were like, so what, you know, we would really like it if you came back next semester and continued to be in the program. Like, what's your plan? And I was like, well, I'm actually going to go to music school. And I remember they all got really quiet. And then one of them was just like, oh, what do you play? Like, they had no idea that I even like played guitar, you know, or anything. So it was very dramatic, and, you know, it was like, it's like if I had to make a movie about it, it would be one of those like glossy like teen dramas. Like to me, it looks like this like gritty like film, but it would probably just all be very silly. But yeah, and then I went to music school and just finished that up, and that was a much more positive experience for me. So,
what's your background?
My background,
like your family background.
Like what's my ethnicity?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm Black, Puerto Rican, and Polish. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Because so am I, minus the Polish.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're Black and Puerto Rican? Mm-hmm. Funny.
Yeah, Haitian on my mom's side, Puerto Rican on my dad's side.
Oh, wow. Okay. See, I love when people ask me questions like that because I love fucking with people. So, like, someone was like, I think actually you were like, what's your last name? And I was like, it's Polish. Mm-hmm. I love answering like that, and just for people to just be like, okay, you know, and you like, you've probably seen this too. Like, you watch them try to like reframe the question. Mm-hmm. It's like, but like, where are your parents from? Like, but like, what race are you?
Because you can't say, what are you?
Yeah,
you can't say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's fun. I mean, it's like, it's always, you know, it's always a different thing. Like, some people obviously are of nothing but pure intention, but you know, I just love to make people squirm a little bit.
So. Heavy is kind of like rooted in your history with depression.
Yeah.
Right. So how did you get out of that funk?
Of that depression.
If you're out of it.
Yeah. I mean, it comes and goes. You know, I think as a person who, you know, depression is a pretty regular part of my life. It's kind of like, you don't know when the episode's gonna happen. You know, nothing can be wrong. I mean, it's funny. I got really depressed actually this past week, and like nothing but good stuff has been happening. It's been like an amazing week. Honeysuckle just came out, and the response to that has been really great. But like, my depression is just like, what up, bitch? Like, how you doing? You know, like, it's just this very like, it's just this like shitty pervasive voice, and
depression,
you know,
just comes and gives you cake.
It just comes delivers
you go,
you
sweetheart.
a cake, and it's like,
chocolate
hey,
cheesecake.
Here you go, honey.
Speaking
like,
of which,
thought
pass
you
the
needed
cake.
another couple hours in bed. Yeah, here you go. This is just gonna be a pass the cake interview with me and Peter. How did I get out of that? I mean, to be honest, writing the EP was a huge part of that particular episode. Was really difficult, and it was I wrote all of the songs from this EP that's coming out last summer, pretty much, and it was right before I met all of my current bandmates, and I was back home in Florida and just feeling really down. I think living in Brooklyn and living in probably big cities in general, like your anxiety, you're just kind of forced to not feel things. I feel like I don't really finish thoughts when I'm here because it's always like you have to be so alert, and I'm always like going to work, going home, going to do something at home, going to like doing this, doing that, going to a show, going to practice. It's like I feel like I never have time to just like sit with myself and think. So I feel like usually I write best when I'm away or when I don't have any obligations or any responsibilities. And that episode was like a particularly bad one, and like writing those songs was really what helped me, and kind of forcing myself to like put a narrative to it and put words to it. And when I wrote Heavy Heavy, I actually didn't like the lyrics, and I sent them to my best friend, and I was like, I think these are too simple. Like I was just like, it's a little on the nose, does it feel too literal? Because I tend to be very heady when I'm writing. And she was just like, no, it's honest, and it's like it really is that easy. Like depression it says the same things to me over and over and over again, and it's just kind of like I have a friend named Rachel who's in a project called Mima Good, who is heavily therapized, and I love her for it. And she taught me this kind of coping mechanism of like talking to your depression and talking to your like anxiety and talking to these feelings like they're children, because it's kind of like they're these like scared voices that you've held onto for a long time, and they're telling you like nothing's ever gonna be like you the person, like Mia the person, is like, I don't feel so good, and maybe things are a little tough right now. And then the scared child is like, what if things are tough forever? Like, what if nothing's ever gonna be okay? You know what I mean? And it's just talking to that voice. And she always starts it with like hi, depression. She calls them her basics. She's like, basics, I need your full attention and your loving cooperation. And just to literally talk to it and be like, you're scared, but I need you to chill for a minute while I'm like doing this podcast, or like I just want to hang out with my friends for a little while. You've been doing great. Like, keep up the good work. Like, it's like a very weird little thing, but it's like there's just it's an illness, and it's like you just have to kind of teach yourself things to stop it from becoming the greater voice.
So, are you diagnosed with anything?
I mean, I don't really feel comfortable talking about that like on air.
That's fair.
But yeah, I mean, it's just stuff. It's stuff I deal with. I tend to go into very bad depressive episodes, and I have pretty bad anxiety. But yeah, I mean, I'm not on like medication or anything at the moment. I'm something that I'm thinking about. It's like it's hard because these conversations are things that I obviously want to be open about, but it's also like it's a balance of just like being really open in my music and saying what I need to say in my music, and then in my life like saying what I can and what makes me feel comfortable.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. I watched an incredible documentary from Showtime. Showtime Sports produced it. This play-by-play announcer, very, very successful and very talented one, Mauro Ranallo. And he's diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And just to see what he goes through, and it kind of shows like the trajectory of his career. He got more successful, calling all these big-time boxing matches, and working for WWE, but still going through a lot of these episodes. And it's kind of like inspiring to see that, because I'm sure there's another bipolar kid out there that wants to achieve something, but probably sees that he can or he or she can't because of their disease, I guess you want to call it a disease. And I think it's very inspiring. Yeah,
no, totally.
It's very interesting.
It's kind of like that, you can't be what you can't see. Mentality it's sometimes hard. Like, who was it recently? I think it was like Billie Eilish was talking about having, I think it was Asperger's or Tourette's, or I don't want to like misquote her illness, but yeah, I mean, I think it's super important to like talk about those things openly. I think it really does affect people. And cake. I think it's important because like you probably get this as like a person of color. It's like you grow up never seeing like brown people in cartoons or brown people in this or brown, it's like you're kind of like, oh, that's not a lifestyle that exists, like, and it's not even that you actively are like, oh, so that doesn't exist in the world, but it's a passive thing. It just like kind of it gets into your brain, and you're just like, I've never seen a lifestyle like mine, so mine must be wrong, it's like, and it's not that those stories don't exist. It's just like, we're telling one story and there's 40 fucking thousand stories,
Yeah, absolutely. The EP is Ow.
Ow, and like the exclamation of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both it's kind of has a literal and figurative meaning because you go through stuff. It's kind of it's pain, but it's not physical pain. It's emotional pain.
Well, I think it's when I was thinking about it and when I was, I don't remember exactly how I ended up choosing a name, but I think I kind of write when I'm have to teach myself something emotionally or whatever it is, and I think what I was learning is to kind of validate my own pain and say to myself, if I had a broken leg and I was like, I can't come into work, I have a broken leg, everyone would respect that. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, of course you can't come into work, you have a broken leg. But it's like if I'm telling my friend I can't come out tonight, I'm having really bad anxiety, I convince myself no, you're just being an asshole, you should go see your friend. And it's like, of course I should go see my friend, but it's like you only have so much capacity, and it's kind of like, if going and seeing your friend is the thing that's going to help, do it. But if it's not, you know what I mean? The same way you wouldn't tell your friend with a broken leg, oh, you should just go see your friend. Maybe your friend can come to you, or finding different compromises and, in learning how to externalize your internal pain, things that are as simple as being if I can't text my friends back, I promise I'm okay. I sound really, this is just something I have to think about a lot because it's a lifestyle, and it's, it's like a lifestyle. No, it's just something that, as you live with, you have to learn. We all have to learn how to cope as we grow up, and even just texting my friends, being hey, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just really really stressed right now. We're a little overwhelmed.
I like getting those messages from people.
Right. Well, it makes you feel better. People aren't ignoring you, because I know it's if my friend who who I love isn't there's some friends that it's if they're not texting me back, I know why, but there are others where I'm if they're not talking to me for 2 weeks, which is sometimes I go I have 58 unread text messages. It drives my girlfriend crazy. She's like, can't you just answer the text? And I'm like, no, because I want to read them and give them the attention they deserve. And if I open them, then
bitch,
I won't
where
remember.
you at?
Yeah, I mean, it's just just letting people know this is where I'm at right now. And if they don't respect that, or if they don't understand it, it's kind of all you can do is try to educate people, or maybe they're just not the right. It's not the right time for you guys to be friends. Yeah. You gotta protect yourself, and you gotta protect others. Yeehaw. Yeehaw,
great.
Cowboy.
So you grew up with music all around you.
I did.
With your family and all that stuff, and your dad being in third base, and
yeah.
So
yeah.
The kind of music that hip hop music was probably all around you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel connected to hip hop music?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, it was kind of the culture of New York and the culture of my family. My mom was somewhat involved with music as well. Was a huge music fan. And I think it's there's not a lot of. It's not even that. I don't want to say that. It's I do take certain things away from hip hop in my music. Something that I got from hip hop that people always point out to me is whenever I'm doing punk yelling and shit, I always do a harmonized spoken vocal, which is something that I definitely I didn't realize was such a takeaway for me, but was kind of they're just little production tricks sampling. I used to love skits. I used to love just sort of all that kind of mentality and that ideology of just hip hop is the original DIY, and DIY is DIY. It's all the thing that's so interesting is it's when
you think about it, going back even further, the blues.
Yeah.
Just guys just playing.
Yeah.
I'm sad about something. The white man told me down, so I'm just gonna play.
Yeah.
And if y'all gonna listen, y'all gonna listen.
Exactly. I mean, it's for you, and I think hip hop.
It created something from nothing.
Absolutely.
I'm very congested a little bit.
That's okay. I'm on industrial allergy medication. Industrial. I had to go to a specific doctor, and they literally were your nose is too small. And I was so what you're saying is I have a button nose. No, but...
Were you auditioning for something?
No, I literally was how was I auditioning? It sounds like it, right? No, but I had to go to an ENT. I've just been having fucking awful allergies. And I thought I was I just was I'm dying. I'm never going to be able to sing again, And they're just no, you're just really bizarrely congested. And so I have to take crazy meds. I have to do the nasal spray. I feel like the girl from Ned's Declassified who's all the time.
Susie.
Yeah. No. Wait.
No. Lisa.
Yeah,
Lisa Zemo.
Lisa Zemo. Mm-hmm. Correct. Gold star. What were we talking about? Hip hop? Yeah. Long story short, it's I still love classic hip hop. I feel I've taken away from it in my own way, but to be honest, it was my mom was always listening to the Smiths and the Cure and all these kind of singer-songwriters, and that was really where I started to be ooh, I remember we used to take these really long road trips when I was a kid, from Long Island to Florida. We had this van, we had this sick fucking family van. And my parents, like, put a TV in it, and we put a GameCube in it, and there was a PlayStation, and my brother and my sister and I would, like, stay up and, like, play video games. And I remember, like, after everyone went to sleep in the van, I would, like, lay on the floor. And, you know, we'd be on these, like, long night drives. And my dad would drive while my mom was asleep, and he would always listen to Prince, and he would listen to, like, just, like, all of these amazing, like... I remember Lolita by Prince very specifically, like, like, listening to that song, like, up on the floor and, like, feeling like I was, like... I feel like I was doing something wrong. Like, I was like, I shouldn't be hearing this. But I was, like, so excited about it. And then my mom would always listen to The Smiths and The Cure and like, Mazzy Star and, you know, all of these, like, you know, alternative, like, new wave records, and just kind of having very specific takeaways from both of those. And then when I was a teenager, like, I found, like, Riot Girl, so, like, Bikini Kill specifically, and I loved Hole, and, you know, started kind of listening to, like, indie rock and Riot Girl punk, and that was kind of what felt like for me, you know, my thing. I think growing up in a music family is amazing because I grew up seeing music as, like, a viable career. Like, I was like, okay, this is a way that people can live, you know, in a way that I think a lot of kids that don't grow up with that, you know, just don't even really see it that way. But I didn't even really think that I could make music until I was a lot older than maybe some kids are when they start playing. It's a weird one. It's interesting. But those are kind of, I feel like that's kind of my family thing, is, like, you know, hip hop was my dad's, like, new wave was my mom's, and, like, finding out what like my thing was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I had a similar upbringing.
Oh, really?
Because my dad would play, like, Biggie around us.
Okay, yeah.
Like, when we were young. So I know the lyrics to Warning because of my dad.
Oh, really?
So he'll play it real low. And then he'll say to my uncle, I don't want my kids hearing that. But I'm hearing every word. So you know
he's
what
like,
I'm
just,
saying?
like, turn it down and they won't understand
Yeah, just
it.
to like
You're silly.
2 in the car. So to a 2 decibel level, a -2. Like, I'm hearing all the lyrics. The bass is heavy. Who the fuck is this? Paging me at 5:46 in the morning. Like, that's in my head because my dad would always play. Like, you know, I can hear this.
But, like,
shit.
you're like whispering it. It's, like, really quiet.
Yeah. And then my dad would be like, so how do you know the words to this?
Yeah, that's the thing I love about parents is, like, it's like they'll play you some, like, oh fuck, I forgot what record it was that my dad brought home. It was like some, like, old, like, dance record, and he, like, you know, it's like we grew up on that stuff, and he's like, what the fuck you know about this? Like, I'm like, you've played it my whole life, like,
exactly.
Of course I know, like,
exactly.
Yeah, they're like, well, how do you know this song? I'm like, because I know you, like, I've met you, you know what I mean? It's always fun.
I've met you.
I've like met you a couple times, so, like, I've heard it, you know what I mean? It's funny.
Weezer was your first favorite band?
Yeah. Oh yeah. How did you know? Did I say that somewhere? All right. Yeah. I
threw it out there. I just threw it out there.
You were like, here's a wild
Weezer.
guess.
Yeah.
Weezer. Yeah. I fucking loved Weezer. Weezer was I think, yeah. I remember I had, like, a CD player in my room when I was a kid, and it was, like, the, like, Bratz or Rock Angels CD. I don't know if that's your genre, but it was, like, these dolls.
I remember Bratz.
The Bratz
Yeah,
dolls.
of course.
So there was, like, a line of Bratz dolls that they all played in a band.
Yeah, I remember.
They made like an actual CD. And I had the Bratz Rock Angel CD. I had Natasha Bedingfield. I had Weezer's Blue album. And I had, like, some party mix that my mom made.
Got a pocket full of sunshine.
It's all mine.
She's
but, like,
great.
the deep cuts, too. I listened to that thing, like, front to back. Like, holy shit.
She's
Yeah.
putting out a new album this month.
Is she?
Yep.
Natasha.
She came through my job to do a...
Where do you work?
I work at Intercom.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Natasha. Good for her. That rules. I mean, I hope it's good. I want to hear it.
Me too.
But I mean, I haven't, like, followed her career or anything. I just remember loving those songs, and I remember, like, when I was playing with toys in my room, I would make up these, like, elaborate storylines, like, to go with, you know, whatever the song was playing on my mom's, like, mix, whatever. But yeah, I had the Blue album, and then I think I got a little older and I got Pinkerton. But yeah, like, I remember, like, you know, early days of, like, being allowed on the internet and, like, watching the music video for Island in the Sun, and I was like, whoa. I was like, this is a perfect song. Yeah, I loved Weezer. We used to do a sweater song cover in our set. Which you would know if you'd come to a show.
Wow, Mia. Wow.
I'm just a dick. No, but that was a really fun one, and I think
just pass the cake.
Okay.
Just shove
all right.
and pass the cake.
Yeah, you're like, I'll just yeah. We used to do a sweater song cover. It was really fun, and my bandmates, when I was like, do you think we should do, like, can we do this Weezer cover? They were like, no. They were like, Mia, no, that's silly. And then I was like, I think we should do it. And we did it, and it was great. And it was always the thing that I loved about it was that everyone knew the opening notes of it. So it's like, I would be like, we're going to do a cover, like, you know this one, blah, 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 blah. I wouldn't say that. But, you know, I'd be like, we're doing a cover. And then I'd play the opening notes and people were like, oh! You know what I mean? It's just one of those songs that, like, just takes you back, man. Like, you just go right back to being 12.
I think video games put me onto a lot of music.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm actually a big gamer. That's something people don't know about me.
Amazing. See, now, you went to NYU. There's a lot of...
I went to NYU. I was actually not involved with games at all when I was at NYU, but I had one game friend who put one of my songs in a game, and it was really sweet.
What game?
Well, she made this game about driving her little sibling around, and was like, we have a song called You Him, and she very generously was like, this song sounds like Tunic by Sonic Youth. I was like, no, it does not, but thank you. And she put it in the driving game because she's like, oh, that's what I used to listen to when I was driving them to school. And I was just like playing this little tiny driving game with my song in it and like listening to my own song in the car. But what games did you play growing up?
So, I would say as far as one of the games that kind of put me onto a lot of music was the soundtrack, the Tony Hawk's Underground. There was Quasimodo, there was Queens of the Stone Age, there was Nas. I'm like, what the fuck is all this shit? And it's amazing. All this stuff is like, it blows my mind. And I play a lot of the Tony Hawk games.
They say Roses are red, violets are blue. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
all. Anyway,
yeah.
nobody says that. I just said that.
Underground's the best one in my opinion.
I don't remember Underground super well.
Oh, you had GameCube, right?
Yeah.
GameCube, PlayStation?
We had like every console growing up. We were like very spoiled in that way. And
So there's no way you did not have Tony Hawk's
we
Underground.
probably had it. I don't think I played it.
It's the best skateboarding game like of all time.
I was very into like RPGs mostly. Like I loved like games with storyline and like I don't know. I was a.
Did you play Kingdom Hearts?
Oh, I loved Kingdom Hearts. Yeah. My brother and my sister and I were. We actually went to in Orlando all too recently. The new Kingdom Hearts is coming out, and they.
It's already out.
It's already out.
It's already out.
Is it out?
Mm-hmm.
See, this is the thing is I don't have a console in New York at all, so I can't play anything anymore unless it's like an emulator or like I put it on my. I only have one game on my computer right now.
What game?
Gone Home.
What's
Have
that?
you played it? It was actually a very controversial game in the game community because men hate women. No. Anyway, well, it's this game. It's this game about. It's like a. I mean, I love games that I can get like really lost in, like really invested in. It's this game about you're this girl. It's like a first person like exploration game, and you go to Europe for a year, and then you come back from Europe. And find that like no, you're in a new house. It's like about this family that moves to Seattle in the 90s, and you're in this new house, and you don't know where your sister or your parents are. And so you get home from the airport, and you find this note on the door like, Katie, like don't come looking for me, blah 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 blah, from your sister Sam. And you literally have to go through this creepy ass giant house and like find all these hints about like what happened to your sister. And it's actually this really beautiful game, and it's like a gay love story. And there's like Happens to Betsy is in it, and there's like original Riot Grrrl music like contributed to it. It was sick. And they talk about Street Fighter, which was one of my other favorite games growing up. Like it's a really good game, but like men in the game community were like, this isn't a game because you don't get a choice in like how to play it and blah blah blah. And it was just a very silly argument that was like just a cover for like, this is a game about women and it's like doesn't have, I don't know. It was really silly. And like one of my favorite comments about it was just like, it was like he's like, the only person I feel bad for in this game is the dad. And I was just so impressed by the lack of self-awareness. Like I it's just a sweet, good, it's like a good, wholesome game, and it like presents itself as this very creepy game. Like you know, you're in this house and like the lights are flickering, but it's so clever, like, you know, and there's just there's details that if you don't really look around, you won't ever find. Like, you know, there's like all these flickering lights in the house, and there's this like, you know, sheet of paper in like a drawer somewhere that like is like the electrical bill, and it's like, we don't know what's wrong with the house. Like it's just it's so smart. And it's just a sweet story. Like, it's not super easy to replay, but I like come back to it like every couple of years and just like play it all the way through. And I love it. I love that game. I have very fond feelings for that game. Yeah, I love video games. Anyway,
me too. We could talk all day about games.
Yeah, we could.
I played Ratchet and Clank a lot on PS2. One of my favorite games ever. Amazing, great story. Jack and Daxter, lots of Halo. I actually played in a Halo tournament. Came
Really?
second place. Yeah.
I played in a Smash tournament once.
Oh, yeah?
When I was pretty young, yeah.
How'd you do?
I did okay. I think I made it 2 rounds, and then I lost, and I was maybe 11, and I lost to this, like, dude who was maybe 34. And I, like, got upset, and, like, because I, like, almost won, and I, like, banged the controller on the table, and he was like, that is my controller. Like, he got so, and I was like, I just wanted to, like, me and now, if I could go into my 11-year-old body and just be like, and just look at this man and be like, I'm 11. Like, I would.
What is this for? This was Brawl?
This was Melee.
It was Melee.
This was Melee. This is the GameCube one. But have you ever played Psychonauts? That's my favorite game of all time.
It's a great game.
That is my favorite game of all time.
Wow. Yeah,
I love that game.
It's very good.
I tried to show it to my girlfriend recently, who like did not grow up. She grew up cool. So
you brought your PS2 here in New York?
No, I didn't actually. Well, I there is a version of that on an emulator. It used to be on my old computer, and I just haven't re-downloaded it. But I started telling my girlfriend about it because I was like, I just remembered it and got so excited. And I tried to like watch like walkthroughs of it with her, and she was just like, like was trying to be so sweet about it, like was so nice about it, and I was just like, no, like I promise, like it's like she was interested in it and was like engaged, but I think she was like, we should just like play the game, and she's like, I don't want to watch the game, and I was like, but I want to watch it. Yeah, that's
they're making another one.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I have followed that closely over the years. I mean, it's crazy because I think the first time I found out about that game, I was really little, and it scared me. I watched my brother play it, and it was so scary. And then I got a little older, and then I played it, and I loved it. And I come back to it every now and then, and I'm just like, so fucking ready.
Did you ever play Alien Hominid?
No, what is that?
It's about. It came out, I think it was 2005, 2006,
okay,
2005. Yeah, you're this little green alien, and it's a side scroller, and you're with this little human boy, and you're just kind of just taking down the government. Because they're trying to capture you because you're an alien.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Do you like bad video games? Like really bad ones? Do you know what I'm talking about? Because this is reminding me
Give me
like,
an example. But this game is amazing.
I'm sure it is. I wasn't saying that.
Mm-hmm.
It just reminded me of when you were saying that. It's called Bad Dude versus the Ninja.
No.
It's like a very poorly made game. It's like an impossible to beat. I used to like go into these YouTube things where I would watch like things about bad video games, and it's this game about you're like a dude who literally just has to fight a bunch of ninjas to save the president.
Yeah.
And then you win. If you win the game, and it's like a really hard game, it's just like this pixelated cutscene of like a president, so like a white dude, and he's like, let's go get a burger, and that's like a whole game. It's like you do all this dumb shit so that the president can buy you a burger. And
actually, when I first got a PS2, there was I think at Target there was like a 5 game pack. It came with Crash Bandicoot. Yeah, it came with Wrath of Cortex. It came with Midnight Club. It came with what else did it come with? I totally forgot.
Can I have the last bite?
What? Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, it came with this game Wave Rally. It was like you're on a jet ski. It was very badly made. It was terrible. And of all the water games, this was the worst. It was so bad, but me and my brothers played it a lot. Not a lot, but we played it because that's we didn't have a lot of games. Yeah. But it was very bad. It was like exactly what you're talking about. Very badly made.
What's the age difference between you and your brothers?
We're all stair-step. So 2 years, 3 years, the youngest.
That's the same with sort of. My sister's 2 years older than me, and my brother and I are 14 months.
Oh.
So 3 years older? How old is my sister? Oh, my God. I suck a little
Are you the youngest?
I'm the youngest, yeah. I'm the baby, so I was never player 2. I was always the backseat gamer, but yeah.
You had a GameCube, so you had 4 controllers, so there you go. You can play Smash, no problem.
Yeah, we could play Smash, no problem. But I was always like, even when we were older, like my sister would play Portal, and we would never do the like tandem version. I don't know what, because we like.
I never got into Portal.
Oh, Portal's great. I did like Portal. I mean, I love complicated, like weird shit like that. I just find it so fascinating, and also it was such a like brain workout because my sister would be playing and she would be trying to figure out what to do, and so I would just like sit like on the couch and I'd be like, go from there to there. Like I would just be like such a dick about it. I was like, you're missing that, and you should go from there, and then you should do that, and I would like.
I would have hated you. I would have slapped.
You probably would have hated. Yeah, you probably would have. But I was really good at it, and then when I did play it, I rocked. So.
What other games did you play? Or what are you playing now? Besides that game you're talking about?
Anything now. Oh. I wish that I were a little bit more engaged, but also just like the game community has always been a little difficult. I mean, I was like a full nerd when I was really young, and I always felt a little like isolated and weird about it because I don't know, like
I was the same way.
Yeah,
but I was a dick about it. I would bring my PlayStation magazine to class and like read about it and like talk about it a lot, and people were like, "Shut the fuck up." Yeah.
Well, I think it was also this like balance of, when I was like a tween, as you do when you're in middle school. It's like that thing where you're like, I can't talk about this because I want to be cool. But then it's also like if you do want to talk about it, like then there's that kind of like elitist gatekeeping of like, well, I'm a girl, so it's like, certain dudes would be like, oh, but do you really like that? Are you really interested in that? Like, is that actually, how you feel about it? Do you actually know about this? And it's like sometimes I did and sometimes I didn't. And then when I didn't, I felt so dumb that I would just like kind of like coalesced
back into your shell
out of it. Yeah, like I was just kind of like, well, this is a thing that I keep to myself, and I'll do. And like lately, I've been talking about it a little more and a little bit more like excited to jump back into playing games. But yeah, I mean, I'm super excited for the new Psychonauts whenever the fuck it's coming out.
Yeah. What about Beyond Good and Evil? Have you played that? It's one of those games that's very experimental, and it's very pretty looking. There's a female lead, and it's very challenging. It's not very straightforward, but I like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to that too.
It's very good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, your new EP, September 6th, Ow.
Ow.
So what are your plans going forward? Like, do you want to put out a full-length album, or are you just going to go EP?
I think we're gonna work on an album. I don't know. I don't have enough info about it yet to say anything concretely, but I think we're working towards an album, which is cool. We have some songs that we're probably gonna do a couple more singles in the near future. So hopefully album soon. Yeah, lots of shows hopefully before then, and just like playing. We're doing like a whole new set list for Ow that I'm super excited about. It's kind of different than anything we've ever done, and so I'm excited to put that show together. And we're playing our release on September 15th. So
Where?
that'll be good on at Baby's All Right.
Yeah. I love Baby's All Right.
And we're headlining. We've never headlined.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Good.
we've never headlined Baby's ever. We played there once before. That was really fun. Yeah, our first show at Baby's we played with who did we play with? We played with B Miles, Huck, and this band called Goth Babe, and it was sold out. And I was just like, holy shit! Like my first time at Baby's, I was like,
You're gonna sell this out.
I hope so.
You'll sell it out.
I put that good energy into the universe. I really want that.
Because I see how people I see you post like people listening to your songs. You'll sell it out.
Aww.
That kind of reaction you get, that kind of like connection you're starting to build with people, you're gonna sell this bitch out.
I'm gonna sell this bitch out. I mean, that is something that I get a lot of like enjoyment out of. Is it's weird. I don't know, like something that I realized as like a music fan and just a person who like has certain artists that I'm just like, I love you so much. Is like I never express that, on social media. Like it's like something I talk about in real life where I'm like, I love Mitski. I love, like, Mitski's like one of the reasons I started making music. I love Mitski. But it's like, I've never posted that. I've never told Mitski that. You know what I mean? And it's like, obviously she's a big artist. And so, she's not even going to hear it if I do. But like for an artist like me, I think what people don't realize is like, if they say something about me, like I found this post recently that I missed about Heavy Heavy, and someone was like asking this other person questions, and they were like, what's your favorite, your top 5 favorite songs right now? And they were like, Heavy Heavy but times 5. And I just thought that was so sweet. Like it was so sweet. And I that's the kind of stuff that it's just like, I get nervous about saying stuff like that about artists I like, and I think people don't realize that like when I do hear that, it's like my reaction is just like, thank you, like what I'm doing reaches people, and it you like it enough to to say that anywhere. So it's really nice to see how people are reacting. It's been really cool. Yeah.
So tell me about your cheerleader
persona.
Thing? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think growing up, especially when I was in Florida, I think is when I noticed it most, and that was maybe when I was 13 to 18. It was just, I went to this one particular school. It was very like all-American. It was I started in public school, and I was bullied out of public school. I went to Florida public school, first of all, is appalling. Is really appalling. Like mad pedophiles for teachers, like lots of like, I mean, I was in middle school. I was in like 8th grade with a kid who was 17, or not 8th grade, younger than that. I was in like 7th grade with a kid who was 17, and was still in 8th grade. It's just like a really bad public school system. It doesn't really care for its students and the teachers. Like the only, like if you're an AP teacher, you get a commission based on how many kids pass your AP exam. So of course they have incentive to like be good teachers. Everyone else are just getting paid whatever. So they don't have any intent. Like they don't have incentive to, not that just because financial incentive should be your incentive to teach. You should teach because you fucking want to teach kids. But it was like a horrible public school system. And so I ended up being homeschooled for 2 years, and then did that thing when I was 15 of like, I want to be a normal teenager. I want to go to prom. And so I, asked my parents, like, can I go back to school? And they were like, yeah, but they were so horrified by that whole public school experience that they were like, okay, listen, we'll find a way to send you to like a better school. Because my parents are awesome, and they sent me to this private school. And it was just this like, everyone was really pretty and really rich and really like, it was just such a like manicured, like all of those TV, like Riverdale and like Pretty Little Liars, like all those shows about these like teenagers that all look 45 and like have perfect hair and makeup, but like that was my school. And so the cheerleaders, were these kind of like intimidating figures for me. I was like, it's funny also because as a brown person, like our features were not considered beautiful until, to be honest, like the Kardashians and like all of that crazy shit happened.
That's a whole nother thing.
Oh, it's a whole other thing. But like suddenly eyebrows and lips and like
Butts
were mainstream. And it's like, who has those features? Like ethnic people, you know what I mean? It's just all of these features that, you know, that like the Kardashians are like, I want to look like that. Suddenly, like I had them, and the girls in my school were like, you know what? I think Mia's actually kind of pretty, you know? Right. And so I grew up as like the ugly duckling, you know? So I'm very like, you know, I'm like very into like owning that I'm attractive now. That's a relatively new thing for me.
Me too.
So yeah, right? It's like
but it's harder. It's different for women. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's I mean, it's different, but it's still like I definitely see a lot of like my friends of color and like people who are not white like owning themselves more and getting more comfortable just being like, this is me, this is my version of beautiful, this is my culture, like this is what I like, you know. But when I was in middle school and high school, like early high school, I mean, I would like draw fucking freckles on myself and, you know, dress like all the other girls, even though it's like it wasn't right for my body, it wasn't right for, you know, me, it didn't feel like me, but it was like that was the standard of beauty, was like 17 magazine, you know, that was like all you saw was that, you know, you have to look like this, and there was nothing for my hair, and there was nothing for my body, and there's nothing for my face, you know, my colors. So cheerleaders were kind of these like figures for me of these just like really intimidating girls who were like all powerful. Like I still get so intimidated by like beautiful women, like not even just as like a gay person, but like as a human. Like if like a beautiful person like wants to be my friend, like someone that I think is like really conventionally beautiful, I still sometimes am like I don't deserve to talk to you. Like it's this really weird thing with like feminine beauty standards that I just still feel like a relative amount of separation from. And like that character, I mean, I started Pom Pom Squad, the band, like right after I finished high school, and was kind of like, when I was 17, I really started kind of figuring out who I was and owning myself and my aesthetic. And weirdly, one of the things that helped me was social media, because Instagram became pretty big when I was still in high school. You know, like I didn't have an Instagram freshman year. I had an Instagram maybe sophomore, junior year, and then my junior year I started my like personal Instagram and like, you know, curated it. I like grew up on like Rookie Mag and like all of those things that I, you know, loved in this kind of like alternative aesthetic that like literally has become the mainstream commercial aesthetic, because Petra Collins was like the highest paid photographer for, you know, am I like speaking into a void? Do you know what I'm talking about at all?
Nope.
Okay. So Rookie Mag was this magazine it was like not a magazine, but it was a blog for teenage girls, started by a teenage girl. It's this amazing thing. And it recently got shut down, which is so sad, because I feel so bad for future teenage girls. It was like the thing that got me through high school, because they would talk about things like starting a band, or they would talk about things like, you know, I don't do drugs, but it's like, I remember reading this article about like, if you're going to do drugs, here's how to do it safely. And I remember just finding that really impressive, because I was like, okay, like teenage girls are doing these things, but nobody's telling them, like, you know, 17 magazine was like, how to impress your crush. Like, if Johnny's outside on the basketball court, like go steal his hat. You know what I mean? Like, all that kind of stuff that for me was just like, I don't want to do that. Like that seems silly to me. You know, like all of these things, like how to have the best Halloween hookup. And like Rookie Mag was like, you know, here's what the Riot Girl movement is. Like here's that. And it was all these girls making, like doing art and photography and poems and writing these really thoughtful pieces. And like there were certain girls that I think anonymously would do their diary entries every week, and you could read about their lives. And it was like girls who were queer and like women of color and like all of these different people. And it was so inspiring for me at the time, because I'd never seen anything like that. And I remember one of the prominent aesthetics, and this thing that was kind of a criticism, like not a criticism, but like criticizing something by depicting it in a weirder, I'm trying to think of like a good example of this, but like one of the archetypes that came up a lot was the cheerleader, because it was this thing by and for teenage girls. And like you watch an 80s movie, you watch TV, you watch the high school whatever, like the cheerleader is this character, and I found myself really fascinated by that. And you know, I hated my high school so much, and I hated being in high school so much, that Rookie Mag and looking at these criticisms of high school and these kind of like macabre, like campy versions of high school in movies made me learn to love it and teach myself to find it really beautiful and fascinating, because it was like split brain. Like part of me was like living inside the experience, and the other part of me was like taking it all in. I used to be like an obsessive journaler. Like it just was this whole kind of double experience of like experiencing high school and like experiencing myself experiencing high school. And I had my one best friend, and this was just something that we really engaged in together, and we made our lexicon of like movies and music and aesthetics. And I became really fascinated with like what the cheerleaders represented and what that represented in my macabre version of high school. Am I using macabre the right way? I don't know anymore. If I'm not, somebody correct me. But that was my version of high school. And so when I made Pom Pom Squad and was kind of looking through all these aesthetics. It was my version of criticizing the all-American figure, and when I started it, I was like really fascinated. I loved like LA punk. I loved like surf rock, and I really wanted to be like on Burger Records. Like that was yeah. And it was funny because when I came to New York, I met this girl from California, and she was talking to me about Burger, and I was like, oh my God, it was so cool to me that someone like had experienced it firsthand and like knew it. And she was treating me like I was the lamest person alive. Like she was just like, yeah, I guess it's cool that I've met this person. Like, yeah, I get, like they're just people, you know what I mean? And of course to me, like they felt like these massive, like statues of my teenage experience. And when I started to play shows, which was kind of something I fell into, it was this sort of uncomfortable thing. Like I would find cheerleading uniforms and stuff at thrift stores, and like I'd buy them as kind of like a joke to myself of like, yes, this is a little memoriam of like my high school weirdness and my high school whatever. And I loved like Letterman jackets and that kind of like 50s Americana aesthetic. And I remember the first time I wore it on stage, it was like very uncomfortable actually to like look at myself in the mirror. And like the way I remember like walking down the street on the way to a show wearing like a cheerleading skirt, and the way that I was perceived and the way that older men would look at me was such a strange, uncomfortable thing. And it just kind of, it makes me think a lot about the way that teenage girls are perceived in the world and the pressure that's put on them, and this kind of beauty myth about teenage girls of like, that's your prime when you're 17. It's like, nobody's in their fucking prime when they're 17.
That's bullshit.
Nobody.
Somebody
like,
told me, you're not going to prom, you're going to regret it. I'm like, no.
No, like, I want my prom experience fucking sucked. Like,
I didn't even go to mine.
Yeah, I went to mine and I looked beautiful. that was the best part.
I like that.
I got ready and I
that.
liked the way that I looked. But I went with somebody I didn't know. It's actually a funny story. I went with someone I didn't know, and he really, like, he asked me out, like, kind of oddly. Like, I had decided I wasn't going to go to prom, and then he was like the stage crew, and I used to like act, and he was like, oh, I really need help recording this song. Like, you play guitar. You play guitar. Can you play guitar on this? And I was like, sure. And we had like a recording studio class in college, or not in college, in high school. And he like invited me into like the recording hall, and I saw him like walk across the hallway with, like, he didn't know I was there, and I saw him walk across the hallway with like a bouquet of flowers, and I was like, oh fuck, he's gonna ask me to prom. And then of course, like, he's like, so before we start recording, and I was like, and he's like, I just have to ask you. I was like, and he's like, do you want to go to prom with me? And he pulls out the flowers. I was like, I wasn't really gonna go to prom. And then he just like looked at me with these like huge puppy dog. He's like, but like, would you? And I was like, yeah, I'll go to prom. And so I like went to prom with him, and he like was really obsessed with Game of Thrones. I've never watched Game of Thrones. I have no interest in watching Game of Thrones. The whole fucking time he talked about Game of Thrones, and like the whole time, the whole time. And then we like, I remember like there's one song that I wanted to play at prom, and I don't remember what. I think it was Boom Clap by Charlie XCX. I was like, this is the only song in my taste range that would likely play at prom. Like, I was just like, this is, if I have to ask for one reasonable thing, it's that this song plays at prom, and I get to like dance with my best friend to this song. And it didn't play. And I remember we got in the car, and I was like, oh, I'm just kind of sad that song didn't play. I really want to hear that song. I don't know why it was that song. But we get in the car, and the first thing that comes on the radio is Boom Clap by Charlie XCX.
What?
And I was like, oh my God, this song is playing. He turns the radio down. He turns it down. He takes his fingers on the knob. He turns it down. And then he starts talking about Game of Thrones.
No way.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
He was talking about Game of Thrones, and it was an hour drive home. It was an hour drive, and so many good songs played on the radio. And it was just all like, it was Biggie -2 dB, and he just talked and talked and talked, and he was really sweet. But just kept fucking talking to me. He's like, you need to watch Game of Thrones. I was like, I don't really think I do. And then we got to my house, and my parents were moving. We were moving on prom night, and
to New York?
Like, to like another house in Florida.
Oh, okay.
We were like moving out. We were like in a rental house. We were moving out of this rental house, and we get to my place. I get out of the car. I fall and trip in the driveway, and he has to like pick me up. And I was like, I'm fine. Thank you so much. Like, bye. Have a good night. And my parents were like, oh no, we just packed the whole car, and there's no room for you in the car. Do you think your prom date could drive you the other hour home? And he did. For another hour. I had to be in the car with him for another hour.
Talking about Game of Thrones?
Talking about Game of Thrones. And I was just like, oh fuck, yeah. So that was my prom story. Basically, like, high school was hilarious. It was so funny.
That's miserable.
It was miserable. It was. It's like it's a great story now. I think I had like one good home. I used to have boyfriends, which is hilarious. But I had a boyfriend for most of high school, and who was very sweet and who I cared about a great deal. And we went to like my first 2 homecomings together went to like his homecoming and my homecoming, and then we broke up my senior year, and so I went to like one homecoming with my friend, and that was like the best school dance ever. It was just me and my best friend. Like everybody left, and we were just like dancing like fucking freaks in the middle. Like we were just like flailing, like just doing dumb shit. Like that's the best high school moment. You know what I mean? And I think you like get told like it's like prom, or it's like, you know, all these dumb things. It's like everybody who's been through high school knows that it's like not prom. And if it is prom, you probably suck now. Just kidding, but maybe not. Yeah. I mean, anyway, back to my whole philosophy about art or whatever. Point being, like, it's super weird to depict myself, like, as a queer, like, brown girl, as, like, the all-American cheerleader. You know what I mean? And one of my mentors kind of put it to me best. He was like, you're really interesting, because in life, you're kind of soft-spoken, and you keep to yourself, and then you dress like a cheerleader, and then you go on stage, and you yell at everybody. And I was like, yeah. Like, it's just kind of that.
I'm the same way, because I'm very to myself in the outside world, but when I get on here, let my freak flag fly.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like, we all come up with ways of coping with the world. And, like, I used to be a very contained person. Like, I just have a lot of trouble. Like, I think too much, so I just end up doing nothing. You know what I mean? And that was, like, especially when I was acting, like, that was my world. And now it's, like, in creating this weird character version of myself that I get to play and dress up as and whatever, like, it helps me understand myself better. It helps me understand what I want better. It helps me speak up for myself better, because it's like, that's what I'm capable of. You know what I mean? Like, that version of me, the show version of me, is what I'm capable of. And the life version of me can kind of take cues from, like, the stronger one. It's like it's just basically like, you know, the kabuki theater version of myself, like the heightened version of myself.
All right, this has been an amazing breakfast cake edition of My Little Underground. Mia, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been amazing conversation. Where can people follow you on the world?
You can find us as Pom Pom Squad on Instagram and Twitter. Pom Pom Squad sucks with an X on Facebook. That's true. That's not a joke. And
I know.
Yeah, you're like, I know, it's not a joke. What else? We have another song coming out on, I don't know, when is this coming out, this episode? Do you know?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
I do know.
We have a song coming out on August 28th. So
It'll be out by then.
It'll be out by then. So we have a song coming out that you'll hear. It's called Cherry Blossom, and I can tell you because it'll come out after. Anyway. But yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could subscribe to My Little Underground, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and PeterARadio.com, anywhere else you get podcasts. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's Peter_A, and follow the show as well at MLU Pod, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Later days.
Bye.